Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the RDH Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Chad, joined alongside by my brother, Tanner. How's it hanging, dude?
Oh, it's hanging. I mean, if you're watching the episode, you already see me. I'm repping him. Might not be playing, but I'm very good. I'm very good. The Browns won. They beat the Niners. The Cowboys won. They beat the Chargers. You know, even in other sports, I'm getting hyped up. We got hockey starting to, or it's already started, but the Stars play another game tonight. I'll be watching that. Um, the Spurs, Wembenyama, he's looking like he's already going to destroy the NBA, and hasn't even played his first regular season game yet. So that starts like next week. And the Rangers are 2 games away from the World Series, baby. I mean, it's a great time to be alive if you're a Texas sports fan. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and throw in a random Browns team in there too, and you got me on the other
Let's
side.
go.
It is start of hockey season. I've played hockey my whole life. I got the rocking the old Sharks jersey right now, and old Brett Burns, miss him. He's on the Hurricanes now, but hey, Sharks are projected to be the worst team in the NHL. They already started off with a loss, but hey, hopes are still high, spirits are still high. I'm good. I'm good. If we make the playoffs, I'll be extremely surprised and really hoping for a solid draft pick at this point from the from the Sharks. But like you said, gonna hit on it real quick, and then we'll jump to college football and recap of the NFL. The Rangers. We don't do a lot of baseball talk on this podcast, but the Rangers are 2 games away. Tanner is a big Rangers fan. As you know, I'm an Angels fan. If you've been watching the podcast, you see me wear my Angels jersey and my Angels merch a couple times. Angels are probably going to be one of the worst teams in baseball, starting next year. And the Rangers right now, hey, like you said, 2 games away. I hope they do it. I'm not a big Astros fan. I did like them back. I did like the Astros back in the day when they had Craig Biggio and Jeff Bagwell and those guys. But since then, I haven't really been a fan of the Astros after the whole, we don't need to get into it. But the Rangers, man, it's close. And it scared me yesterday. The pitching at the Rangers at the eighth inning, they gave up a run. It freaked me out. Bases were loaded, but they got the out. Then they went in, and that pitcher just had ice in his veins and finished out the game. The one on the warning tracks in the ninth inning really scared me
Mm-hmm.
with first batter. But hey, I mean, when you're facing Jose Altuve and you're facing Bregman, like that's a tough batting order. They got to the top of the order, and the Rangers still finished it out. So game three,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Rangers, they're just hot. They haven't even lost a game yet in the postseason, and that's insane because they played, the number one seed, and then now they're bringing it to Houston. So it's like, gosh, dang. I mean, they look really good. They look really, really good.
Exactly. And jump into to football talk. Gonna hit some college football this episode. We're gonna recap week 7. We're gonna recap a little bit of NFL week 6. We got some injury updates. Then we're gonna go over some league leaders right now, and you're gonna be pretty surprised if you haven't looked at it because that's a segment that I can't wait to hit. And then we got some matchup preview and picks. And once again, that's at the end of the episode. But if you're a betting person, I'd I'd listen to the end of the episode because last week we did pretty good. I'm not going to give away the overall record, but college football week 7 recap. First point we got to hit on: Alabama holds on barely by Arkansas. They were blowing them out in the first half. I watched that game, and they're blowing them out in the first half. It didn't even look like a game. I honestly tuned to another college football game, and then I turned back at the end because Arkansas almost brought it in. Dude, that was a close game. And if Alabama were to go down against Arkansas, I would have been so mad because A&M was so close to beating them. Did you catch Alabama almost slip that one away?
Yeah. It was kind of the same situation. I was watching in the first half, and I was just like, okay, yeah, this looks like an Alabama football game, an SEC game where they're gonna win. So I tuned into another game, but then I came back, and it's just like, what the heck? You know what I mean? It's just we keep seeing it with this Alabama team this season, right? You just see them like they're not the closers that we kind of want them to be, with this Alabama. Looking at Arkansas specifically, I don't think they have a bad team at all. I think last year they were projected, or they got pretty high in the rankings, and they have a
Yeah.
quarterback. His name is KJ Jefferson, and he's pretty good. He's a dual threat guy, and he can throw the ball, and he's decently accurate. So I would not sleep on that team. A&M likes to go over there to Arlington and beat them every year, which is kind of nice. So it's like when I watch them play
Yeah,
like a full game, it's just like okay, whatever. It's
they've
Arkansas.
only lost once to Arkansas ever. So,
Yeah,
you
so
know,
it's a weird relationship that I have with Arkansas, but they may have the best chant in all of college football and all of just college period with the Woo Pig Sooie. I love it. Every time I hear it, it's Woo
it's a good one.
Pig Sooie. It's amazing. It's
It
amazing.
is one of the best ones in college football for sure. A&M's got some solid chants too, but dude, those that's a good one. I didn't expect you to rip it. Uh, second point hitting on Washington. The Huskies take down Oregon.
Dude.
Oregon goes down. Bo Nix goes down. Bo Nix didn't play a bad game. The Oregon quarterback, Washington's quarterback, his name's escaping me right now, of course, but
Penix.
he's right now. Go ahead.
Penix.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. He's right now a top. He's locking himself into
That's
a
good.
top pick in the draft with his play.
Mhm.
He is one of the best college football quarterbacks this season for sure. Definitely top 2 or 3 right now, especially after the stumble that we'll talk about here in a little bit. But Washington just kept answering.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those games where it was just back and forth from the beginning to the end, and you knew whoever had the ball at the end, you thought that was gonna be the game winner, but Oregon just couldn't do it at the end of the game, and Washington takes them down. That was a game where it was number 7 against number 8, and I don't know. I didn't think it was going to be that good of a game. I mean, you should think it's going to be that good of a game because it's number 7 against number 8. They're so close, and that game could have gone either way. You know what I mean? Like that game easily could have gone either way. So I'm glad Washington pulled it off because secretly I've been rooting for the Huskies for a while now, just because I don't know. They're just a random team. They made the college football playoffs a couple of years ago. They've had some great defensive backs come out of there recently. So hey, what a game for Washington.
What a game for Washington, indeed. I mean, it's almost like, I don't know. I mean, Penix, he looked really good. Like you said, Bo Nix, he looked good, but I think Penix looked better. I mean, I was watching that game, and he just those touchdown passes in the first half, I think, and he's just diming them in. He's dropping them in the bucket. He's making them look easy. And there's a lot of good quarterbacks coming out of the draft this year. That's for damn sure. I mean, you better watch out if you're a struggling quarterback on an NFL roster right now, because these guys are looking really good. A point on that game I want to make is I don't understand. I don't know if you have any input on this, but Oregon, they went for it on like their own 50 with like 2:15 left in the game. I think they were up by like a score, not that much. But they go for it, they miss it, and they're like at midfield, and Washington scores in like 2 plays. And then at that point, it's just, all right, now Oregon has to go down and score to win the game. And it's like, why didn't you just punt the ball away in the first place? Let your defense take care of it. I don't know. They were up, and I don't know. It seemed like a very silly kind of amateurish decision by my standards, at least.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you have the ball at the 50-yard line, you know what I mean. It's a gamble no matter what. Unless you're the Philadelphia Eagles, they're the only team in the entire world that no matter what, every time they're going to tush push it for 1.5 yards, most likely 3 somehow. They're the only team that's figured it out. And I understand the coaching decision to go for it on the 50 because your defense my thought process in that whenever the coach made that decision is my defense isn't going to stop in the 50. Yeah. My defense probably isn't going to stop them if we punt the ball down, and get within the 10-yard line. Yes, it's better field position, but Washington was lighting up Oregon the whole day, and momentum was on their side at that point. So I really think that Oregon tried to stamp the game and give Washington less time. They were very close to running out the clock if they would have got that first down. But like you said, Washington made a stand. And I do understand the coaching decision. When it's number 7 against number 8, when your schools are that close to each other, you know what I mean? They're that close to each other. Portland is where Oregon is, and Washington, you know what I mean? It's right there. They're playing each other quite a bit. And Washington did everything right at the end of that game, and Oregon did everything wrong. If you look at it from the coaching perspective, you can say it was a wrong decision. Me personally, I would have done the same thing. I wouldn't have punted the ball because I think that Oregon's defense showed that. I mean, both the defenses looked like grated cheese. You know what I mean? They weren't stopping anybody. They could have stopped me, but they were not stopping each other. You know what I mean? That was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I didn't see it coming.
I mean, yeah. I mean, when you look at it, it's like you want Washington to score if you're in Oregon's position, right? You wanted them to score really quick, so you have the most amount of time possible to go down and get points. But in retrospect, it looks like a bad decision. I get what you're saying, though. I get what you're saying. If you be aggressive, then you almost ice the game at that point. But I don't know. I just if you get a good punt, they're down at like the inside the 5-yard line. Your defense makes one play. I don't know. I mean, it's college football. Maybe the decision is different in the NFL, but I don't know.
Exactly. Next game we're gonna hit on just real quick. I watched the second half of it because I couldn't believe what was actually happening. Unranked Pitt takes down number 14 Louisville. That I think was the biggest shocker of the weekend, and not a whole lot of people were talking about it. You'll see Louisville drop in the rankings. Actually, by the time this thing airs, the rankings will definitely be out. But all I want to say about that game is I can literally compare it to the Cowboys game, the Cardinals game, and I can compare it to the Cowboys game when they lost to oh my gosh, who did Dallas literally lose to?
The Niners.
Thank you, the Niners, where they just completely didn't show up. That was Louisville. You know what I mean? The 14th ranked team in the country. They just were flat. They looked flat. They came out the gate flat, and it just wasn't necessarily a great football game, coaching wise, personnel wise. It wasn't a great game. Louisville didn't have a lot going, but got to shout out unranked Pitt there. Last one we're going to talk about. Oof. Oof. This hurts the Caleb Williams hype train, and if you've been listening to the pod, I am a big Caleb Williams fan. Maybe a bit of a homer because I'm at USC's my number 2, but Notre Dame just absolutely took it to USC. I mean, that game wasn't even close. Caleb Williams, to say struggle was not really the right word. He looked like the reads were just not right. He looked slow. He just looked off. You don't want to see this from a guy that Notre Dame has lost 2 games against pretty decent opponents, but at the same time, this is when you want to see him elevate his play. You want to continue to see that game elevate, and it was week over week. But he had a bad week last week, and he followed it up with another bad week this week, and that's what you really don't want to see a quarterback. You really want to see those young quarterbacks have a bad game and then turn around and have a good game because they can bounce back really quickly. Am I saying that this knocks down Caleb Williams' draft stock for me? No, but the Washington Huskies quarterback is really starting to hit the door. You know what I mean? I really thought Caleb Williams, and I still do think it's one game, it's a couple games. This kid is up there in terms of prospect level of the recent draft years. I don't know if I want to go as far as to say Andrew Luck. I don't know if I want to go as far as to say Trevor Lawrence, because both of those quarterbacks coming out of college, Andrew Luck coming out of Stanford, Trevor Lawrence coming out of Clemson, they had elite playmaking ability in terms of passing the ball and putting it exactly where they wanted to. And Trevor Lawrence had a cannon. That dude has an actual cannon. And you watch it every game, the Jacksonville Jaguars wide receivers will drop at least 2 passes because they're just like, dude, you know what I mean? Like, we're not playing dodgeball here. But anyway, I went off on a tangent there. Notre Dame did everything right. They limited Caleb Williams. They put pressure on Caleb Williams when they needed to. They made him uncomfortable in the pocket. The USC offensive line did not look good. Notre Dame's defensive line absolutely dominated that game. And when Caleb Williams did have time, he made the wrong reads, or a couple drops. Obviously, you can't say it was all his fault. But at the same time, when you look at the numbers and you're throwing less than 50%, that's not good. You know what I mean? That's not good. You don't want to do that. He definitely struggled. I think next week or this week he comes up and has a really good game, his next game. But
who do they play?
Utah. I think it's Utah.
Rematch. Oh, that'll be a good one.
Yeah, we need to check that. Check that. I'll check that real quick. Last thing I'll say on Caleb Williams, I don't necessarily think it takes a hit on his draft stock a huge amount, but like I said, I don't think that it's as far distance as I thought it was. I think that the other quarterbacks this year coming up are playing extremely well, way better than I thought they would have, and they're starting to close the distance on Caleb Williams. Did you check out who they're playing next week?
I did. Yeah, it is Utah. USC is ranked 18. Nice. Utah is 14. So that's a crazy good game.
They dropped them all the way to 18?
I mean, Did you watch that game?
Wow. Oh, I mean, yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
I completely agree with you. I think you hit the nail right on the head. It's just, I think, I think Caleb Williams is still going to be the number one pick. I think he's still the best prospect if you look at it from like just an objective standpoint. Overall everything that he's done. But Michael Penix, he's starting to creep into his stock. He's starting to take little bits at it just here and there. And with that performance that he just put up against Oregon, I mean, it almost looked like night and day. Between the two quarterbacks, it was like, well, if you just watch those two games, I mean, who are you going to pick? You know what I mean? So I think you should also give a lot of credit to Notre Dame's defense. I mean, we've been talking about it all year. Are they legit? Are they not? I think they are. I think they're legit. They just went out and showed you that they can put Caleb Williams in a dumpster and roll him down a hill. So that was amazing by Notre Dame, and they didn't step off the gas even when it started. Even when USC got a little bit of luck in their hands. No, they just kept going. They kept going. They kept putting up points, and they just beat them flat out in every single department. So I like it a lot. I really hope we don't have a surprise on draft day to see who goes number one. You know what I mean? But it could be fun. It could be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm super interested to see what happens on draft day. You have no idea. You know what I mean? That year when Baker Mayfield went number one, I was like, wait, what?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? You never have any idea what's going to happen on draft day, but one of the best days. Now we're gonna jump to NFL talk, but right before we do that, we are talking a little bit of college football. As you know, if you've listened to the podcast, if you've read the articles over the years, RDHSports.net's where you read the articles. I release a ton of draft articles, and we talk a lot of draft in the off season. I'm going to start to sprinkle in a couple players every now and then within these episodes. I'm going to start to put in some draft profiles. You know what I mean? We're going to do that this year, and we're going to look at all these guys a little bit earlier. I've got some really good guys that I've already started looking at. Caleb Williams being one of them, Brock Bowers being the other one, the tight end out of Georgia who just got hurt and is out for a little bit, which is not good to see for Georgia. But I've been watching these guys for years now, so really excited to release those to you. I know you've been asking, so those are coming soon. But now jumping to NFL, Tanner, take it away. Last night, Cowboys versus Chargers recap. Go,
dude. That game had twists and turns and fumbles, and there was a lot to it. Honestly, let's just start from the top. I mean, in the first half, it was. I mean, the teams almost looked like the exact same team. You know what I mean? The biggest thing, honestly, was penalties to me, especially in that first half. I feel like, you had Dallas's drive where they went down and they got a touchdown, and that was a really good drive, just offensively overall. And goddamn, that option play was amazing. But the penalties, just on both sides of the ball, not even for Dallas, for the Chargers too. It was just, if you did something wrong, they were gonna call it. It didn't really matter what it was going to be. So that stalled, in my opinion, a lot of drives. And, I don't know. The Chargers got that early touchdown. Dallas went down and got their touchdown. So it was really nice. But second half, I think, is really where the defense started to turn on. The defense started to do their thing for Dallas, of course. And Dak looked really good throughout the entire game. That's probably one of my biggest takeaways from this. Even though there was a lot of things that went wrong. You had that muff punt, I think it was. That was one of the strangest plays I think I've ever seen. I don't know how, by the way, that was not
the defender pushed him into the ball.
Yeah, it's a weird rule in the NFL where if you push a blocker into the punt returner, then it's not a penalty, and it doesn't really matter. So it was, I don't know. I was like, why? why does that make sense? But you just gotta get big. You just gotta get bigger, I guess. But yeah, Dallas, they looked really good. I was really honestly happy with it because even though they didn't get the ground game established, with Tony Pollard, he didn't have a crazy night in terms of rushing the ball, but he did in terms of passing. Passing yards, he was great. He had that one really big run where he should have scored a touchdown, but Asante Samuel Jr. is just an absolute speed demon. He just catches him on it. But I've seen Tony rip those, 9 days out of 10 of the week, or 6 days out of 7 of the week. But yeah, man, it was a good game. Everything kind of just went right for the Cowboys, even though it was a close game. I was very happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the Cowboys, at the first half, what I would have liked to see is I would have liked to see, nitpicking them, right?
Yeah.
I would have liked to see the Cowboys actually do something in the red zone. I know that the Dak Prescott option play was insane. That was one of the best reads I've ever seen Dak, and that looked like rookie Dak.
Hmm.
But the thing with that read is he was about a millisecond away from fumbling that ball.
He was.
He was a literal millisecond away from the ball. And I mean, I think that's just the thing. The running back wants the ball so bad in that situation, and you have to hit that gap really hard when you're the running back. So I understand why the play almost didn't work. But at the same time, I take a look at the game and I think to myself, you're going up against an offensive coordinator who knows that defense, right?
Hmm.
That Kellen Moore knows Dan Quinn's defense. And at the beginning of the game, it looked like it was going to be the Chargers all the way.
Hmm.
But then Dan Quinn's defense stood up. And the biggest thing for me on the defensive side, I'm going to hit defensive side, then I'm going to hit offensive side. I'll go Chargers first. The Chargers just hurt themselves every single time they had momentum or every single time they got a first down with the defense. Quite literally, they gave the Cowboys so many first downs, and usually you don't see that from both teams. But like you said, they both were penalized so much. That defense, I don't understand why they didn't sack Dak in a couple of those.
Yeah.
It looked like it was almost a slow motion spin animation on Madden, and he somehow got out of it every time. And then it looked like the defense was just running really slow because I know Dak's not that fast, but Dak looked like he was moving a little quick. You know what I mean? So it's a good thing for Dak, but the Chargers defense just didn't get him in the backfield, and that's what ultimately happened. When you give CeeDee Lamb that much time,
Hmm.
and when you target Michael Gallup that much and you really don't get going all game, he gets 3, 4, 5 receptions out of 11, 12 targets. That's not necessarily a good ratio right there with one of your top wide receivers, but Brandon Cooks finally gets involved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the Chargers defense just got destroyed because Dallas playmakers came to play. Chargers offense, Justin Herbert, that middle finger broken. I know it's on the non-throwing hand, but he didn't take a snap all week under center. And I think that ball hitting his broken finger every single time had something to do with it. I saw him miss Keenan Allen multiple times. You don't see Justin Herbert miss Keenan Allen multiple times. It's not that Dallas's defense played well. They did at times. They stopped him when they had to, aside from when the penalties were happening. But Justin Herbert flat out missed in that first half and in the second half as well. You know what I mean? He flat out
Yeah,
missed. So that was the big thing with the Chargers. And Austin Eckler didn't get going on the ground. And if Austin Eckler doesn't get going, Keenan Allen has a pretty decent day. Justin Herbert's not going off. That's a recipe for the Cowboys to win. Now, Cowboys defense.
I think you got to attribute it, to the Cowboys defense to stopping Austin Eckler, right? I mean, every time they ran the ball up the middle, it was just a brick wall.
Oh, absolutely. And Dallas's run defense finally showed up for the first time this season.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Dallas's run defense hasn't necessarily played the best. I think the fight pregame probably had a reason to do with it. I think the defensive line, was in that scuffle. I think that they were not going to let everyone, including Austin Eckler, run the ball, specifically Austin Eckler run the ball, and they didn't. And that's exactly what you were saying. So to hit on the defense, they were kind of the same story like you said with the Chargers. They got penalties when they didn't need to. They would have gotten the ball back to Dallas's offense a lot, but they just made mistakes, and the stars didn't really show up until it mattered. DeMarcus Lawrence,
Michael Parsons.
exactly. DeMarcus Lawrence before that, literally, quite literally saved a wide open touchdown with the batted play on second down. It was wide open, and then, like you said, Micah Parsons does nothing all game. Does nothing all game. And then literally shows up at the perfect time to end the game. You know what I mean? And gets a sack. So I want to see a little bit more consistent play with the defense, but I do like the bend not break, and I do like holding the Chargers to, they didn't even get 20. That's a really good game against the Chargers. They didn't even put up a couple touchdowns. So I'm very happy with that performance against the Dallas defense. Dallas offense. Okay. Is it just me, or does CeeDee Lamb look bored out there and he's getting 100 yards?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're Dallas, the recipe's pretty simple. If you're not running the ball with Tony Pollard, you're throwing the ball to CeeDee Lamb every single time. Every single time. I don't know why Dak targeted Michael Gallup over 10 times and CD didn't even get that many receptions. But hey, I'm not a rocket scientist here, but you gotta give the ball to CD more when your wide receiver is legitimately looking bored, and the media after the game where he's like, "Me and Jamar are always open." That was hilarious. But hey, throw the ball to him 15 times a game.
He got over 100
Throw the ball to him 15 times a game. Yeah. He had over 100 yards and he looked bored. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He looked bored. So that's really all you had to do, Dallas. Like you said, Dak Prescott made one hell of a read on that read option and looked like vintage Dak. I never thought I would say this, but Dak Prescott's legs and CeeDee Lamb won Dallas that game. And Micah Parsons on one play. That was the reason Dallas won that game right there. Do you have anything else to hit on the Cowboys, or is it time to go to the old dog pound?
No, I just think 10 targets and 3 receptions from Michael Gallup is just, ooh. I'm looking at it. It's a little rough. But I think also, too, when it comes to the passing game, you need to, and we saw it last night with Tony Pollard, you got to get him involved, too. I think he's an absolute weapon, and that's why he's the Cowboys' #1 running back. That's why they got rid of Zeke, because he can do both. Zeke, earlier in his career, he could do both, but he can't do it anymore. Tony Pollard, he's that dual threat. So Kellen Moore did it a lot when he was here in Dallas, but they're kind of starting to get back into that groove of things. They're kind of starting to get the offense moving a little bit, getting the ball to different people, receivers, stuff like that. I do agree with you. Why are you targeting Michael Gallup more than CeeDee Lamb? But I mean, if he's open, he's got to catch that dang ball. You know what I mean? There were a couple of drops from Michael that I was like, oh, you got to catch that, man. But no, Dallas, honestly, I was really happy with that win, even though there were some miscues and mistakes and stuff like that. But now let's get on to the game of the week, people. Come on.
Take it away. Take it away. This is all you.
Okay. Well, let me pull this out with a stat first, because I thought this might have been the craziest stat that I had no idea about going into this game. So we've got the Browns defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz is now 9-1 when he plays Kyle Shanahan as either a head coach or a coordinator in either of their respective roles. That is absolutely insane from a team coached by Kyle Shanahan, because their offense was coming into this week, they were #1 in the league. I mean, no doubt about it. You cannot deny that. McCaffrey was on a tear. Kittle just had 3 touchdowns in the game before. But Jim Schwartz is now 9-1, 8-1, obviously, going into that game. So that is just an absolute domination from him. And I think you can count one more win for Jim if you count him as like a defensive assistant for another team. So another stat, these are just fun stats, and it's almost historic because Cleveland is doing something that they probably shouldn't be right now. The Browns defense has given up 1,002 yards through 5 games this season. That is the fewest any NFL team has given up through 5 games in over 50 years. So that is an incredible stat, especially combined with the one that we talked about previously. But, I mean, you're seeing it on the field, right? You made it. The Niners Niners offense, who looked absolutely unstoppable, just looked like a regular team on a regular day. You know what I mean? You made Christian McCaffrey look like he was nobody, and that is hard to do in this league, my friend. That is very hard to do. Obviously, he went out after a while, but Brock Purdy struggled too. Maybe it was because he didn't have his biggest running back, and Deebo Samuel also went out of the game, but I mean, he had Ayuk on a couple of those routes, and he overthrew him, or he just missed the pass. And on one of them, Martin Emerson got his first career NFL interception, so that was really awesome to see too. Cleveland's secondary, just as a whole, has had a major upgrade over the offseason, and you're seeing it. I mean, Martin Emerson is playing his best ball. Denzel Ward signed one of the biggest contracts I've ever seen, and Greg Newsome is playing well. Like, it's hard not to pick a star on that secondary. I mean, you got Grant Delpit back there too, so it's like Juan Thornhill's playing well when he's in. So I really love their secondary, what they've done, and what they're doing right now. I mean, it's insane. I mean, when you go to the linebackers too, I looked this up. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, if you remember, Chad and I was sitting on the couch with you. I jumped up and screamed my heart out in that 3rd round pick. Notre Dame, he had an 89.8 PFF rating for that game as a linebacker, and that is almost 90. So that's in the level of Pro Bowl players. I think Tyreek Hill had a 93 for a comparison this week, and he had a very nice touchdown. So Browns defense is absolutely cooking. I don't even need to say anything about their offense because they didn't do anything. PJ Walker threw like 2 picks. They got on the board when they needed to. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, Deshaun Watson wasn't even at the game. Like he wasn't even playing. So going into that game, you don't think you're going to win it. In fact, you think you're going to get blown out. So the fact that they came in there and they did it, and they just absolutely kind of they didn't demolish him, but they brought the fight to the Niners, and they freaking won it. They freaking won that game. I'm just so proud of them. I think that defense is probably best in the league right now. I don't think you can consider anything else, especially with these stats that I'm putting out. I mean, come on, man. Come on.
I mean, look at the new stat guy over here, and Cleveland got a win, so it's a good week. Cowboys and Cleveland got a win for you, so it's a good week of football for you. But I mean, hey, I think you kind of hit on it early. I think the Browns' defense hit on all cylinders, and when Deebo Samuel goes out at the very beginning of the game, and then Christian McCaffrey goes out towards the end of the game in the third quarter, both of their playmakers are going to be gone. Yeah, you have Brandon Ayuk that's still there. That's a number one on some teams right now and number two on most. Mm-hmm. But you kind of nailed it. Brock Purdy struggled a little bit. You needed to see him step up and make plays there. Cleveland was bringing a lot of pressure. And I understand that when Myles Garrett's in your face, you got to get the ball out. He's a huge guy. But at times it looked like he was, I don't want to say small behind the offensive line, but he wasn't hitting those throws he usually hits. And also not to mention Trent Williams, their all-pro tackle was not playing as well. So there was a ton of injuries on the Niners side. But for you to lose to a backup quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, no disrespect, and to get the turnovers that you did, there's no excuse to lose that game. But hey, the 49ers are no longer undefeated. And going to another. Oh, wait, no, they are not. Yeah, they're no longer undefeated. There we go. I said that right. I was like, wait a second. Going to another team that is no longer undefeated is the Philadelphia Eagles. And they go down to the Jets Jets. The Jets come in there in just Zach Wilson says, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. This is going to be a dub. We're going to go out and get a dub. And I just don't understand. You know what I mean? Watching that game, I really just didn't understand what Philly was doing. I was like, do they want to lose? Are they actually calling these plays right now? Like, why are they not just, I don't know, running the ball? Yeah. The game management at the end there, that was Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott running the ball up the middle at the end of the game bad. That was bad. You know what I mean? The Eagles shouldn't have lost that game. And they did. And, the Eagles had 2 games earlier this season where they probably shouldn't have won them. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, all right, you got 2, now you get 1 back, but you don't see the Eagles kind of crumble like that. And that's the best way I can describe the play that they had. They crumbled. And it doesn't get any easier this week because they play the Dolphins. You know what I mean? It doesn't get any easier. So the Eagles are going to have a tough matchup ahead, but I do think Jalen Hurts is going to get better, but he did not look good. The defense held up, but at the same time, you want to hold the Jets to no points, especially with Garrett Wilson getting hurt. I know it was toward the end of the game, but still, it's Philly. You got to be a better run defensive team. Jets got the ball, going on the ground a little bit, not too much, but that's a recipe to beat Philly. And Jalen Hurts just struggled. His wide receivers looked open on some plays. He definitely missed Devontae Smith at least once and missed AJ Brown once as well. So that was a tough one to watch if you're a Philly fan. If you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, it was great. It was great. It was a great game to watch. What'd you see in that one?
No, I really think that you hit it right in the head. What we saw on that day was if Philly, can't run the ball, or if they're not having success running the ball, they will abandon the run and they will rely on their receivers to go out and make plays. I think AJ Brown, he played a pretty good game when the ball was thrown to him. He usually caught it, and it was just like, okay, nice. Devonta Smith didn't have his best game. Like you said, I think the passes sometimes were off, but I mean, you got to catch some of those balls that are thrown to him. I mean, he had a couple drops, and it's just like, in key situations, you can't drop those. You're Devonta Smith, you want a Heisman from at Alabama, right? So that was insane. Another thing I want to say too is, I don't know if a lot of people are talking about this, but the Browns defense, let's say it's number 1. Let's say it's number 1, but the Jets defense, it's probably number 2 right behind them. And they're not far behind, because if you remember the first game of the season, the Jets beat the Bills, and Josh Allen, I think, had 4 turnovers and like 3 picks. And they were not good picks. They were pretty bad picks too. And then remember when they went against the Chiefs? The Chiefs almost lost that game, and they won it with a field goal at the end. Patrick Mahomes had 2 interceptions in that game, and he didn't look great. Now they're taking it to the Super Bowl appearance Philadelphia Eagles, and Jalen Hurts had 3 picks, and he didn't look great against this team. Funny enough, all 3 of those quarterbacks were the top 3 in MVP voting last year. So, if you can't say this defense is good, I don't know who you are. This is a good defense. Jets, Jets. And that's just on one side of the ball, right? Like Breece Hall, you just give him the ball and he's going to run all over you. And that's a Philly defense. That is a run-stopping defense. It's not like they're just going to, lie down and let him go. There is no other option there. You got Zach Wilson. Trust me, he's not a bad quarterback, but you got Garrett Wilson. If you cover Garrett Wilson in the secondary, then they have Breece Hall. So there's one option. I would cover Breece. That's probably the biggest thing for me. Get him, stop him, and you might be able to stop Zach Wilson when he's trying to throw the ball to Garrett Wilson. So it was really interesting. I think you're starting to see the Jets and how much talent they really do have on their team, and it's showing. In full force. Imagine if Aaron Rodgers was playing right now, man. Oh my gosh, imagine if he was on that team. That team would be unstoppable. That defense is unstoppable, and the Jets' offense is just making do, and they're doing it pretty well. So
yeah, they're doing really well.
To beat the Philadelphia Eagles, especially just a team just as strong as them, is very impressive. Is very, very impressive. They have looked good all season. This defense is going to keep them in games all season. All they got to do is score enough points to win. And right now it's looking like 20 points is enough to win. And that's attainable from almost any football team in the NFL. So
exactly. I mean, the Jets really come together on the defensive side of the ball. You nailed it. It's one of the few teams, that I feel like is still kind of like that. They really do build around their defense. I mean, obviously they had their offense with Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson and the running backs with Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall, but they really do build around that defense. And draft-wise, one of the best defensive tackles, if not the best defensive tackle in the league right now with Quentin Williams. Mm-hmm. Aaron Donald's always up there, but still, that Jets defense, it comes to play every single game. And great stat on all the quarterbacks that they beat. Buffalo's not an easy team. Philadelphia's not an easy team, and almost taking down the Chiefs, that's also not an easy team to take down. So that defense is absolutely for real. Absolutely for real. Now, jumping to the part of the episode that is not the fun part. We got some injury updates, and there's a lot of them. Yeah. Justin, I'm just going to start going. Justin Fields, he hurt his finger. Not likely to play this week. He's already doubtful. Trevor Lawrence, he's day-to-day. So take a look on, Friday, Saturday to see what it's looking like there. Tannehill.
They play on Thursday, though. That's the thing.
Oh, they play on Thursday this week. You're right.
Yeah, so it's really.
So take a look Wednesday. Yeah, take a look tomorrow. Take a look Wednesday. I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is going to go, but you could tell in that game that he was not feeling himself. And like I said, if you have Tannehill as your quarterback, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? You're already probably on your last leg. So he got carted off the field. Jimmy G, his back got injured. He's expected to miss a couple weeks. Christian McCaffrey goes out with an oblique injury. He's expected to miss a couple weeks. You got David Montgomery, rib injury where he left the game. There's no timeline yet. And then, like you said, last one, Deebo Samuel shoulder, and he never returned. So a lot of stars, a lot of injuries, and you never want to see that, especially with, guys that are having such good seasons. Some of these guys are having really good seasons, and Justin Fields finally starts to put it together and go, and then boom, there it goes. You know what I mean? So now you'll see what happens with those teams. But now we're going to talk 2023 NFL season leaders at this point. So it is week 7 in the NFL. So up to this point, number 1 quarterback right now. We're going to start with quarterbacks. We got Tua sitting at number 1 with passing yards with 1876. Then we got Kirk Cousins sitting at number 2 with 1679. So Tua is in a league of his own. I'm going to read down the last 3 and then we'll discuss it real quick. Matthew Stafford, 1677. Damn. Another little surprise there, but hey, we called it. The Rams team was not a joke this year.
True.
Number 4. You ready for this one? CJ Stroud.
Heck yeah.
1,660 yards. Then Jared Goff behind him with 1618.
This is a weird world we live in.
Wow. Tua is number one with almost 1,900 yards. He's 23 yards away from 1,900 yards, and it's only been 6 games.
Mhm.
You know, so Tua. I mean, obviously, you know what you have with Tua. You have Tyreek Hill and you have Jalen Waddle. You know, that's if you had them. Kirk Cousins had Justin Jefferson. We're gonna see if that trend continues now that Justin Jefferson's gone. I'm not sure, but Kirk still is throwing the rock, and the Vikings are. Matthew Stafford, you got the return of Cooper Kupp, and your favorite rookie, Tanner. Got to call him out.
My favorite rookie.
Your favorite rookie for the Rams, the wide receiver.
Oh, Puka.
Thank you,
I love
Puka.
Puka. He's
He is,
great.
yeah, he is absolutely destroying this year. So that's the reason that Matthew Stafford is also up there, and then C.J. Stroud. That's all him.
Yeah,
That's all him.
true.
You know what I mean? You got Tank Dell, no disrespect, but that's all him. So I'm interested to see where he ends. But if he stays on this list for much longer, rookie of the year, just lock it up. CJ Stroud, you know what I mean? Just lock it up. But the fact that you have a rookie in the top 5 in passing yards, it's not like it's week 2, right? It's not like he had 2 hot games. It's been a couple weeks, you know, and he's sitting there at number 4. It's crazy.
It really is crazy. I mean, I think it's even crazier to think that we doubted Matthew Stafford. You know what I mean? Like,
Hey, I didn't.
that's true. Let's say people did. Let's say people doubted Matthew Stafford, not including us, because we would never do that to good old Matthew. I mean, when he was in Detroit, who was he throwing to when Megatron wasn't there? You know, nobody. Like, and he was still making do. That's why the Rams went out and got him in the first place, because they knew he could do something with nothing. So we should have figured. I guess the world should have figured. He just made Puka Nacua into a star, and when Cooper Kupp came back, now it's like a 2-headed monster. So, and it's really they don't look like they have missed a step really at all. The defense is playing well. Granted, they just played the Arizona Cardinals, but the defense is playing well. Aaron Donald is a cornerstone. It doesn't really matter who else is on that team. It's just if he's playing, the defense will be good. Just period.
For
Doesn't
real.
matter. And they got Kyron Williams back there at running back too, who's lighting it up. I mean, that touchdown run that you saw, probably everyone saw in the highlights, was just beef and potatoes is what that was. I mean, he's just got up there and he was mean. He was getting that ball in the end zone. But the Rams look really good. I like the Rams. And gosh dang, C.J. Stroud, come on, man. Come on, man.
How are you going to have C.J. Stroud sitting there at number 4 with not a whole lot to throw to? I think that this kid has got a very promising future in the NFL.
Who is number 1? Oh, Tua. Tua. I mean, is he front runner for MVP?
He has to be. It's a quarterback, and he's leading the league in passing.
Hey, remember when Dak did that, and he didn't?
That's true. That's
Like,
that's true. But then last one we're going to hit on the Detroit Lions. I said if I have a hot take that's wrong, I'll come back. I'll come back and admit my mistake. And I thought the Detroit Lions were 1 year off. I really did. They're clearly not. They're 5-1 for the first time in a long time. And one of the big reasons is Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jamison Williams is back now. You have really good playmakers on that side, and the defense is playing extremely well too. So the Detroit Lions, here we go. I think they let's say really stumble. I think they got a really good shot at making the playoffs.
yeah.
Now, jump into rushing. This is going to change a lot after I go over this, and you'll know why here in a second. Christian McCaffrey's obviously leading the league right now with 553. He got injured, so that one's going to change. Zach Moss is number 2, the Indianapolis Colts running back. With the lack of Anthony Richardson, their starting quarterback, who's out for the season. That's another one we didn't hit on the injury report, but Anthony Richardson out for the season. Jonathan Taylor's now back, so I don't think that Zach Moss rushing stat continues to go there. Number 3, Devon Achane, the rookie out of Texas A&M in Miami, 460 yards, and mind you, he didn't even play last week.
It's true.
Yeah.
Okay, that's upside down.
There we go. There we go. Then the Rams, Kyron Williams, 456 yards. And lastly, DeAndre Swift, 452 yards. So I think every single one of those players, in my opinion, is probably going to change that spot on the list, because Christian McCaffrey is projected to miss week to week. It's really hard to lead the league if you're missing week to week. You could, but it's still hard to do it. Zach Moss, like I said, Jonathan Taylor's coming back. Devon Achane injured. Kyron Williams, sorry, what? You know what I mean? What? And then DeAndre Swift. The Eagles like really didn't run the ball last week when they should have. So I don't know. What do you think about the top 5 right now?
I think I completely agree with you. It's definitely going to change, but Kyren, I think, is probably the only one that I would say in that conversation, at least out of those 5, because 2 aren't even playing. That could have a chance at the rushing title. You know what I mean? Because he is the number 1 back on that team, and there's no one else stopping him. When the Rams get down into the red zone, I mean, I made a point about it one week. I don't remember what week it was in this podcast, but run the ball. When you get in the red zone, that's how you win. And they won. That's how they put up points on the board. And Kyren is looking really good. He's really fresh. He's young. And he's just an excellent complement to those two, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. Those guys are, like I said, beasts, 2-headed dragon. And Kyren, if you have an efficient run game, it doesn't matter. Your offense is going to click. Like it's just what it is. I think another thing too, a different point is Zach Moss. I mean, it might just be the Colts O-line is just that good. Like Quentin Nelson, he's just that good. We've known that for years. But the rest of them, they might just be also that good. Because right now it seems like it doesn't really matter who's running behind that line. They're going to get some points, and they're going to get probably a touchdown or two, here and there. So Zach Moss, I mean, if he keeps doing this, I mean, that's a 1-2 punch with him and Jonathan Taylor. I don't care if, it's Jonathan Taylor, but that's how the league has become now. You got to have 2 running backs, and you're going to rotate them in and out. So if you got Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss going back there with that offensive line, good luck.
Exactly. Jumping to receiving leaders. This one's pretty obvious. I mean, Tyreek Hill, only receiver with 800 plus yards, 814 yards right now, on pace for over 2,300 yards of the season. Not sure he'll hit that, but if he does, that's absolutely insane. He took a fan's phone and did a backflip. One of the sickest sellies I've ever seen. That Tyreek Hill is how. I just have to ask. That's what I have to ask. How? Tua doesn't have a cannon. He doesn't. Tua does not have a cannon, but for some reason,
doesn't matter.
If you get Tyreek Hill on the same team, he can somehow throw the ball 15 yards farther than he did. I mean, he just beats everybody, not even off the line. If you don't jam Tyreek Hill up at the line, you're in trouble. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to get penalties almost every time, and then you have Jalen Waddle, and then the other offseason additions to bring it. It's just such a fast football team. That football team is so fast. They're built on speed, and Tua literally just throws the ball. And when you got the number one, quarterback leading the league right now in terms of passing yards, like we said with Tua, of course the number 1 wide receiver is going to be Tyreek Hill. We'll see if he actually hits 2,300 though. Number 2, this is how far it is. AJ Brown, he can't even have 700 yards. 672 yards right now. Tyreek Hill, dude,
it's clear.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Come on, man. Come on. You got to calm down a little bit. Not really. Please break 2,300. That'd be awesome. That'd be so cool. Like I said, AJ Brown, Stephon Diggs right there with 620. Another rookie at number 4, Puka Nacua, your guy, 598, and then DJ Moore sitting at number 5 with 582. DJ Moore's had 2 good games.
We put up like 230 in one of them.
I know, and he's somehow already there. But yeah, that's exactly why he put up 230. So. What do you think about this list? I mean, kind of a shock, but at the same time, not too much of a shock. I mean, the rookie, yeah, but other than that, it's like, kind of expected that.
I mean, if Cooper Kupp weren't injured at the beginning of the season, he would be sitting right there. That's exactly what that would be. And the rest isn't that surprising. I mean, Tyreek Hill is just a specimen. They should put him in a lab and study him because he's not human. I agree with you. I don't know how Tua does it. I think he just anticipates Tyreek beating his man by like multiple steps, and then Tyreek just hits the jets and he goes, and he's like, mine. Like the touchdown that he got this last week, he was a one-on-one coverage. He was manned up, and I don't know why they thought that it was a good idea to do that. He just beat him immediately, and it was a touchdown over the top, and it was like, come on. He threw up the little thing, and he did the backflip that you were talking about. But I mean, the rest of it's kind of like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Diggs is Diggs. AJ Brown is AJ Brown. Puka's a surprise, but DJ Moore, get the ball to your playmakers. That's just kind of what I'm seeing, and those other teams do it really well. The Dolphins do it extraordinarily well. But yeah, Not much of a
Yeah.
surprise.
We'll see. We'll see what happens with DJ Moore. With Justin Fields going out for a couple weeks, you never know with backup quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
Backup quarterbacks either favor the wide receiver or just it's virtually no production. It's literally one of the other. It's never in the middle. Is
Mm-hmm.
what it seems like. It's either one or the other. You saw in the beginning with Garrett Wilson where he just virtually nothing, and then it's kind of crept up a little bit week over week. When Aaron Rodgers with him, I can't even imagine the season he would have had. But yeah, and then Puka Nakua, if he keeps going. They have a two-headed monster right now with Cooper Kupp back in there too. Stephon Diggs is always going to be up there. He's always going to be in the top 5 with a quarterback like Josh Allen. And then Tyreek Hill. That's no surprise. And then last one is AJ Brown. That's Philly's guy. So jumping. This one's gonna be a little bit faster on the defensive side of the ball. Right now we're leading tackler is Zaire Franklin out of Indianapolis. Then you got TJ Edwards out of Chicago. Then, oh man, I'm going to mess this name up. Folse Akuan out of Jacksonville. Then you have Roquan Smith out of Baltimore and Ernest Jones out of the Rams. Zaire Franklin has 77 total tackles. TJ Edwards was 70. Akuan was 67. Roquan Smith 63 and Ernest Jones 63. Really? Those two names on top, Franklin and Edwards, that's a big surprise to me. I did not anticipate them being in the top 5, let alone leading. Oluokun, I understood that. Last year, he played extremely well in Jacksonville. He was a top 5 linebacker in the league. Roquan Smith, top 5 linebacker in the league, fast linebacker out of Georgia, sideline to sideline. Ernest Jones, another fast linebacker. We'll see if it ends with him in the top 5. But, I mean, I've watched a couple Rams games this year, and he's played really well when I've watched him play. So, pretty solid list there.
Yeah, I mean, Roquan Smith is kind of like the guy, for me, that would be like, linebacker king right now, especially since he's moved to Baltimore last season. So it's just like that's a linebacker city, linebacker place, linebacker team. So I expect him to get off the ground running, but I don't know. Here's the thing. I had Oluokun in fantasy last year, so I kind of know his output. He's a tackle machine. So I don't know. The Jags are pretty good. I am very surprised at the number one spot though. That's really surprising, especially since it's like, like why? They're kind of like losing games,
yeah,
winning games. It's not like a consistently good team. It's stuff like that. The
and
defense
he's not even their best linebacker. What about Darius Leonard?
Yeah.
What's happened to Darius Leonard? Where's Darius Leonard?
I don't know. I mean, since he's changed his name to, I don't remember what it is. Maybe he's just disappeared.
Oh, maybe that's why I don't know where he is. He changed his name. I had no clue. Jumping to the sack leaders. Number 1, Danielle Hunter out of Minnesota. Okay.
Are you serious? Wait, how many does he have?
He has 8. Okay. TJ Watt, number 1, 8. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Khalil Mack, 7. He had 6 in one game, so let's not get too crazy.
Go down.
This is your call because you're a big fan of this guy. Trey Hendrickson, Cincinnati Bengals defensive end. I mean, that's number 7, sitting there, 7 sacks too. And then Josh Allen from Jacksonville, 7 sacks.
Yeah.
It's early in the season. Guys, you really want to get up past 20 sacks. That'd be nice to see. I think Myles Garrett's going to get up there if he's not already number 4, number 5. TJ Watt's always going to be up there as long as he's on the field. Khalil Mack, I don't know if he's going to finish in the top 5, but when you have 6 sacks in one game, it's pretty hard not to finish in the top 10. So I see Khalil Mack doing pretty well. And when you have a Bosa brother on the other side, yeah, you're probably going to get to the quarterback every now and then. Trey Hendrickson, Mr. Consistent every year on the Bengals. And then Josh Allen. You haven't seen a ton of production of him over the recent years. He's still a young player. Jacksonville, drafted him. But hey, now you're starting to get that production out of him, and that's what you want to see out of draft picks.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I think Trey Hendrickson, I mean, he's just a beast. I don't know where he came from, but he's just – I mean, it doesn't really matter. The Bengals, no offense to their D-line, but they got no one else when it comes to rushing the passer. That's like their bread and butter right there. Trey Hendrickson, if he's not on, that defensive line's probably not doing much. So huge props to that guy. And Bengals defense, kind of underrated, just a little bit, kind of underrated. I think they're a pretty good defense when they're playing at full capacity. But who are the other two? Oh yeah, TJ Watt. I saw a stat actually that was like for 4 years in a row. Obviously TJ Watt being injured for one of them. He's led the NFL in sacks, and it's just like, oh, oh. Dallas could have had him. Dallas could have him and Micah Parsons right now. Just saying. But
That would have been the best duo probably of all time. That would have been absolutely insane.
Yeah, it would have been disgusting, dude. And Danielle Hunter, really?
Number one with 8 sacks.
How long has Danielle Hunter been in the league?
He's been in the league for a while.
Didn't he leave the Vikings and then go somewhere else and then came back?
I think that's the guy. I'm pretty sure that's the player. But I don't, dude. Danielle Hunter's he looks like he's just not human. He's just so big. Dude is jacked, and he's been a staple on that Vikings line for a while.
Oh no, I'm thinking of someone else. No, he's always been in Minnesota.
Yeah, Danielle Hunter's been in Minnesota for forever. I don't know if maybe like they gave him a chance to leave in free agency and he never did, but
he's only 29. That's insane, dude.
Yeah,
That's
not a bad player at all.
That's impressive. I like that a lot. Who
now jump into leading interceptions. Well, it's a bunch of guys that all have 3 interceptions. Steven Nelson out of Houston, Jordan Whitehead out of the Jets, Jesse Bates out of Atlanta, Darius Williams out of Jacksonville, and Geno Stone out of Baltimore. They all have 3 interceptions right now.
Does Duron have 2? He's a pick 6.
Duron
Bland for the Cowboys.
I think Duron he for sure has 2. He may have 3.
I thought he might have 3. Well,
yeah, he might have 3.
If it's not showing up there, then he definitely doesn't have 3. But
yeah, now not last, but time for the last. Well, yes, last time for the last segment of the episode. We've got NFL Week 7 matchup preview and picks. Tanner, let's update the listeners on the results from the previous week.
Dude, I'm a little mad. Okay, I'll be honest, because I made a bad pick. You know, it was impulse pick. I picked the Ravens to lose because they were in I don't know. I think they were in London. But the Titans just suck,
against Titans.
Man. Titans just suck. They're just not a good team. You know, Derrick Henry. You can only do so much with Derrick Henry. I figured when you got Tannehill sitting back there. But yeah, I went 4-1. Chad went 5-0. Pretty good week overall. You know, still a little salty, but overall season I'm at 18-13. Chad is at 20-11. That's good though. You know, that's what you want to see. This is consistency starting to form. I'll say that.
Exactly. You know, we said, you know, if you've been listening since week 1, we had a rough week 1, and then it was week 4 or 5 where we had a rough week 4, week 5. We went an 0 for 5er and then a 1 for 4. You know what I mean? Then you and I swapped. So when you have 2 weeks, if you take those 2 weeks out, all stars. You know what I mean? Absolute all stars, expert level picking in pick'em leagues. But you know, you got to include the 2 weeks. So it's looking okay. It's getting up. It's getting better. Every week we preview the Thursday night game. We pick a Sunday morning game, pick a Sunday afternoon game. We preview the Sunday night game and then the Monday night game. This week is going to be the first time we don't preview a Dallas Cowboys game because the Dallas Cowboys run a bye. So sorry, Cowboys fans. Thursday night we have, like Tanner just said, the Jaguars with a questionable quarterback versus the Saints, who kind of called, Everybody said the Saints are going to go out and just destroy that division. Yeah, chuck that one up for me. You know what I mean? The Buccaneers defense is too good. That's a game that's really hard to pick when you don't know Trevor Lawrence's status. If Trevor Lawrence is good to go, I got the Jags. I got the Jags. I take the Jags. If the Saints are good, if the Saints don't, you know, they have Kamara. Kamara's back. You know what I mean? Alvin Kamara's back. Derek Carr's back there. Chris Olave. They're going to be slinging the rock. But this one, I'm going to have to go Saints because I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is going to go. He's considered day to day, but I'm gonna have to pick the Saints on this one. Who do you got?
Oh man, this is really hard. I need Trevor Lawrence to play. I mean, he needs to show up. You know, he's got to put on his uniform. He's got to throw a couple passes for me. It's tough. I'm gonna go. It's hard because the Jags are a good football team. You know, just around overall, and it's hard to pick against them. But if Trevor Lawrence doesn't play, I can't pick the Jags. I just can't. I can't. Assuming we're going to do this again. You know, last week or a couple weeks ago we did it with Burrow. Assuming Trevor Lawrence doesn't play. I'm gonna pick. Oh, you know what? No, give me the Saints. I thought about it. I thought about doing it, but no, give me the Saints.
Absolutely. So, both of us got the Saints. Then Sunday morning, we got a pretty good one. I think this is a pretty good matchup. I think I know who I got, but we got the Ravens versus the Lions. That's going to be a really good game. And the Ravens defense has been playing pretty solid, and Lamar's been playing pretty well. But now you're going up against the Detroit Lions. I could see the Ravens sneaking out a win here and kind of surprising everybody. I could see Lamar having a real good week, but Detroit's just rolling right now. I don't know if I see the Detroit Lions being 6-1. You know what I mean? I just haven't seen that. I don't know if I've ever seen that. You know what I mean? I don't know if I've ever seen Detroit go 6-1. So I don't want to say it. I don't want to pick the Ravens, but I kind of want to pick the Ravens.
Are you gonna do it?
Are you picking the Lions?
You know who I'm picking. You know exactly
Okay.
who I'm picking.
Okay, then I'm picking the Ravens. I'm going to go Ravens on this one.
Okay. I mean, I don't know why you're picking against the offense. I mean, these guys have been proven it. They're 5-1, people. 5-1. It's impressive. You know, who have they played? They beat the Chiefs. That was impressive. That was very impressive. I like this offense. I really do. In the Ravens, I saw Lamar struggle against the Pittsburgh defense, and that is just enough for me to pick the Lions. I don't know, man. It's hard to stop this team. This team looks so fun. They look like they're just hitting on all cylinders. It's hard for me to pick against them right now. So give me the Lions. And I just looked it up too with Trevor Lawrence. It says his knee has been progressing really well. And that was Tuesday's practice. He says he's optimistic he can play Thursday night versus the Saints, and that was 4 hours ago.
Optimistic. Nah, I don't know about that one. I'm still going to push my chips in on the Saints.
You know what? I'm going to change my pick. Give me the Jags, assuming Trevor Lawrence can make it out there and do enough.
Well, you're going Jags. All right. So you got Jags. I got Saints in the Thursday night game. You got Lions, and I got Ravens in the Sunday morning game. For the first time this season, we flip flop, probably because we're not previewing the Cowboys game. Then we've got Sunday afternoon game. Steelers against the Rams. This is a sneaky good one. I'll let you go ahead and pick first. But I've got my team, but I don't know. The Steelers have got a really good defense, so it's going to be tough for me. Who do you got in this one?
I said it earlier. The Rams defense is sneaky good. People don't really realize how good I think it actually is. And Kenny Pickett is not going to go out there, I think, and destroy this Rams defense. And Matthew Stafford is Matthew Stafford. He's a veteran in this league. He's played the Pittsburgh Steelers before, and I think he's gonna play well against them. Not like extraordinarily well. Don't get me wrong, because T.J. Watt, like we said earlier, is leading the NFL in sacks, and he's probably gonna get another one this week. But give me the Rams. I think the Rams are just too hot, and they have too many weapons, including Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, to tie him up on defense that much. You know, you can stop one of them, but you're probably not going to stop the other one. And if they get the run game going, it's pretty much toast. So, yeah, give me the Rams.
Exactly. I mean, you got a top 5 leading rusher in their running back. You got a top 5 leading receiver in their rookie wide receiver with Puka Nacua. So I'm going to take the Rams. You know what I mean? I think the Rams are pretty solid with Cooper Kupp coming back. You know, you can't ever pick against Cooper Kupp coming back. And the Steelers have struggled. If they had a quarterback that wasn't Kenny Pickett, no offense, they'd be a lot better football team. Mm-hmm. And jumping to the Sunday night game against the Eagles versus the Dolphins. That's a heavyweight matchup. That is an absolute heavyweight matchup. It's really hard to pick that the Eagles are going to lose 2 weeks in a row. But after the performance I saw last week, I cannot pick against the Dolphins. I know Darius Slay's really good, but I don't know if anybody can stop Tyreek Hill right now. And then if you stop Tyreek Hill, have fun with Jalen Waddle. And then if you stop Jalen Waddle, then Gesicki's there. And then if you stop Gesicki, then you have your running back out of nowhere with Raheem Mostert. I mean, good luck. You know what I mean? Good luck on the Dolphins side. But you also got some really good players on the Rams side, or on the Eagles side. You have some really, really good playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. And if any team can stop the Dolphins' run, it's going to be the Eagles. But they didn't really stop the run last week. So I'm going to go Dolphins in this one. I really don't see the Eagles losing back-to-back, but I can't pick against the Dolphins right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. You know, you got the the NFL's leading receiver when it comes to receiving yards, and Tyreek Hill. That dude is just a mean. I don't know how they're gonna even try to cover him because, come on, come on. Raheem Mostert, I think, is tied, or actually, I think he's in the lead for the most rushing touchdowns in the NFL. So it's gonna be hard to keep him out of the end zone too. And like you said, Jalen Waddle, Tua, they're playing really well right now. Specifically, Tua, he's leading the NFL in passing, and it's because he's putting the ball in great positions. He's got Tyreek Hill. He's distributing the ball. He's playing really well. But despite that, I'm going to go with the Eagles. I think the Eagles are going to get a bounce-back game. I think they're just the better team. I know it's weird to say, but I think that overall team is just better. I think the defense is going to step up a little bit, and I think they're going to play well. I think you're going to see a good Philly team. Not amazing, but I think their stars are going to get the ball. The offense is going to start clicking a little bit because, honestly, Miami's defense doesn't scare me that much, when it comes to Philly's attacking. Attacking like they got DeAndre Swift. If they can commit to running the ball and rushing, and they can actually get some yards on the ground, I think that game is theirs to lose, personally. But give me the Eagles. I think they get a bounce back win. As much as I want the Dolphins to win, I think the Eagles are a really good football team, so I'm going to take them.
Ton of different picks this week. Love it. Last game of the preview this week, we got the 49ers against the Vikings. I'm going to keep this one simple. Even though the 49ers are going to be limited injury-wise, I'm still taking them. If the Vikings had Justin Jefferson, maybe this would be a different story. If they still had Dalvin Cook, maybe this would be a different story. But quick and simple, the 49ers defense is too good. They don't have a ton of injuries on their defensive side of the ball. They do on the offensive side of the ball. I don't see the Vikings moving the ball that well against the 49ers. I could see them getting a max of 2 touchdowns. Kirk Cousins-wise, if he throws 3 touchdowns, I'll be very surprised just because of how good this 49ers team is and how much the Vikings offensive line has struggled this year. So I got the 49ers in this one. If Christian McCaffrey goes, which I don't think he's going to be able to go, I got him by a whole lot. If he doesn't, I still got him by a little bit. You know what I mean? Not a blowout game for sure, but when Brandon Ayuk is still there and George Kittle's still there and Brock Purdy's going to be going, I think they got a really good chance on that one. So I'm going to take 49ers over the Vikings.
Yeah, this is the first one we're going to agree with. Surprisingly, give me the Niners. I mean, they lost last week, don't get me wrong, but it's the Vikings. I don't really know what good things I can say about the Vikings, except Kirk Cousins is, he's all right.
He's all right, and Justin Jefferson's gone. But
Daniil
any other
pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. Any other football points? Are we good to end this thing?
No, I mean, just let me flex it a little bit more, Give me the Browns victory celebration a little bit. And the Cowboys too. The Rangers are up 2-0. It's a good day. It's a good day. But
it's a good day.
It's a great day. Let's talk to you guys later though.
See you next week.
Boy.